I know you said you're also a fellow actor. And for where can we start with when you were coming into the business? Because as even with me, I've been doing this since I was 10. And I have seen this business shift over I started training in the early aughts. I started working in the early aughts. So to see it from then to now change. So I can only imagine from your perspective, like, obviously you create something out of a need. The purpose of any business is to create a product that is made out of need. When you were coming up and when you were training, when you were working, how was that pre breaking down the audition and post breaking down the audition when you came to it?
I mean, it's a great question. Same. I have to tell you that I feel like I'm a problem solver. And that is something that is just in my nature. But I think that people always say that about actors or about anything that you have to contribute to the world. Like, what skills do you have where you could be like, hey, I could fix that.
Yeah.
I can do that. Oh, give me a day. I could figure out how to do that. Or, whatever it is, it's just, I would say that I was always a very, very curious person. And I always liked I still do, I like being the person that I don't get. So if I was in musical theater training in a city and I had a great teacher, but I also sang pop rock. And so I was like, well, what's the deal? I'll figure it out. Yeah. And then I just went and figured it out, right? And then so it would become like, well, I want to figure out self-taping. I want to make audition cuts. It was just one of those things where I feel like there's a world where I find where I'm needed in the open spaces between, where people are being, who people are being, and what's possible. There's always a little extra room. And so I seek out to fill it. And so I would say that I'm in a relationship with our community. I've got my ear to the ground and I'm always going, what can I make that could make this whole thing so much easier? Because you're right, it has changed. Since you started and since I started. I mean, even from, having an agent that would give me feedback every audition to my career being entirely mine, and my agent is there to get me more money. So, it changed, but also our audition process changed. Our relationship to the industry changed. And some of it had to do with the pandemic. A lot of it had to do with the pandemic. But I think that our industry was built on, supremacist shoulders. So it was, it's either this or nothing. You have this or you have a backup. Or do something, or if you don't make it, then you got to go home and be a failure. It just tied us into, and then if you're not like skinny and white and are you don't have the social skills, and you have the social skills to schmooze, right? You get to succeed. I mean, the system is broken. And so we were kind of working in a broken system for a really long time because we didn't know it was broken. And then when the pandemic happened, I feel like it shattered, and it's, the industry's holding a handful of different pieces. And so I'm really lucky because I've had the kind of career where I made the impact I made on education, but now I'm going into production. I'm getting my master's I'm in London right now getting my master's in dramaturgy. Oh yeah, well I want to do like cultural conscious dramaturgy to make sure that when we're putting on productions, whether they're new or they're revivals, that they're actually like helping progress the community and culture. Right now it just kind of feels like everybody's getting hurt. And so I still want to do the work that I do, but I feel like I've graduated from education and now I want to go into production. But my entire life, I've sort of found that the industry is not what we thought it was, and the veil has gotten lifted. And now we're looking at a new industry. And that's kind of why, another reason why I thought it was so cool that you asked me, because I would love to talk about, what do we do? What do we do right now? What do we do when we've been going to school and studying and honing our talent for an industry that is falling apart, dismantling, and is going to need to be rebuilt, hopefully in and through the hands of all the marginalized people that were, kept out of it. Hopefully we'll see leadership that is where the culture is right now, and so until that happens, we all have a lot of personal work to do.
And you just said two things: school, which I want to talk about, and two, this is called show business, not show friends.
Oh no, you said that too, and I had to learn that the hard way because I'm on the autism spectrum, so I think everybody's my friend, and no, they're not. It is a business. We have a responsibility of who we need to be in the business, to the business. We have to have a healthy relationship to the business. All of these things are exactly what you just said. That really, really changed, and I think that all of our eyes opened when the veil got lifted. Everybody found out that the business is not a lover, not a friend, not an uncle, not a sibling. They're just really, there's a whole way of being that is I'm going to say, it's sometimes very unfair, right? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, come on.
But hopefully some of those things will fall apart.
So can you, because I think you just, again, you're speaking on it already without me having to really ask it. It's just like, we're taught how to act, but we're not necessarily taught how to be actors. Why is it that...
Or be.
Why is it that you think, especially from an educator's point of view, as we get ready to really dive into rock the audition, Marilyn Monroe said it best, where dreaming about being an actor is a lot more interesting than being one, because once you see what goes on behind the curtain and the business, the shenanigans, and I was having this conversation with someone not long ago, and I always try to be mindful how I say this, but this is just the reality. Within entertainment today, I think there's this false idea, and I try to keep politics out of it as much as possible. While the art might be liberal, the business is very conservative. Because you have to think about, where's this product being shopped to once it leaves Broadway? What happens once it leaves the editing room? What happened once it leaves the recording booth? What happened once it gets into the hands of consumers? I say it all the time. We as consumers are always interested in the 1%, the finished product. We're not necessarily concerned about what goes into that 99. So my question for you is this: as an educator and as you transition and step into these new phases of your life, what is it with this romanticization that you have noticed and you've seen throughout your career, that we fantasize about the art, but not necessarily about the business?
I mean, what an incredible question. Where do I even begin? You're so smart. So, well, this is going back to our dreams and the, oh God, it's about capitalism. Why do I have to get to that so quick? But it's the schools, right? And saying, you have a dream. We are going to help you pursue it. You follow your dream. Your dream is to make it on Broadway. It's very much in alignment with what the American dream was, that's also being dismantled, right? Is that you go to school for 4 years. If you're lucky, you get into one of the good schools, and then you study and study. And then, you start performing and you have a career, and if you don't, right, then A, B, C, D, E. And so this dream of becoming a Broadway star, working on Broadway, the industry grew. Broadway got really popular. More schools came in, and there were more students, more people pursuing it. And then it was harder to work. And then the pandemic happened and the world changed. And now we're going into like a different economy. So the reason why a lot of the stuff that we learned in school, it was really just about building your book and auditioning. It wasn't about how to be with people. It wasn't about all of the different kinds of personalities that you're going to be with. And it wasn't about having a sense of self. I don't think that college ever was like, hold up. You are not one thing, right? We contain multitudes. So, I am Sheri. I am a, Jew for a free Palestine. I'm queer. I'm neurodivergent. I'm a writer. I'm a coach, a director. I'm in school. Like I do all of these different things, right? I'm an ordained minister. So like there's a bunch of things, and these are all the things I am. So when we were studying in school, our teachers were not saying you are many splendid things. Yeah. Let us find out what those things are so that nothing could really take you down. If one thing doesn't work out for you, that's okay, because you don't have a backup. You just are these other things too. That could be many, many things. So what I feel like is the industry prepared us for something that is a fantasy. It's not really real. It happens for some people. Yeah. But on the most part, to look at ourselves as whole people that could be, multiplicitous, and that we could be many, many things in the industry. And we could live many lifetimes. We are only shown that we succeed at this thing, which was a harmful thing. And then if we failed at it, well, sorry, Charlie. And so the business was like an unhealthy boyfriend. In a way, right? So, but then we couldn't be ourselves because that's business and this is private, and the two can't mix because you don't want to be a liability if you're emotional or if you open your mouth. Do you understand that all of these lines have been blurred because it's really just been a bunch of people sort of controlling the narrative about who we are and how we need to show up? Yeah. So I think the personal and the professional have been at once blurred, and then the rules about how you have to be have been so rigid that no one could survive in it. So how do I feel about it? I feel that the rules were never established between members of the community, between actors and directors and actors and producers and directors and producers. There's never been like really an open, transparent conversation between anybody and anybody about how we need to be in this world of business now that the veil has been lifted and we all know what's going on. We can't behave in the way that we've behaved before. We can't do the things that we've done in order to make it anymore. We know what the business is. So how are we supposed to be in this business now that the veil has been lifted, and who we need to be has never been encouraged?
It's so interesting that you're saying that, because I feel like what you're saying about the narrative about business and the wool over our eyes, now that that's been lifted, underpaid, overworked, and overlooked, right? A tale as old as time. Oh, my manager stole money from me. Oh, I was being abused on set. Oh, my agent or my manager was pushing me to... I feel like there has to be levels of accountability within us as the talent, because I always say you have to be the Roy to your Walt Disney. Until you have both, until you can have both, you need to learn how to be them for yourself. But even more importantly, your artistry is your product, your name is your brand, and your career is your business. So
what are you responsible for? I think the big question is, what are your responsibilities as an artist? And you have to be in this world. Everything from what are your responsibilities with your management, with your representation? What are your responsibilities with your cast and
your creative
teams? What did you say?
Read your contract.
Read your contract. But I think that who we need to be and how we need to show up in this industry is so different than when I was a young warthog. No, when I was a young person. Yeah. When I was a young person, it was like not on me. The talent was on me, not the business part. The business part was figuring out how do I, first of all, who am I that I bring to my artistry? I think when we're in school, it's so much about booking roles and auditioning and your type, right? And trying to succeed, that there isn't a lot of self-reflection going on unless it's going into the audition material, right? So to me, there is not a world where, one, are you doing all the shadow work you need to do so that you can show up in the industry as with a strong sense of self, a strong sense of what your beliefs are, having a point of view. These things are not, it's part of what we don't learn in school, but we find out very, very quickly that unless we have a strong sense of self, it's going to get knocked down really fast.
Oh, yes.
Whether it's from the agent or the competitive actor that, doesn't want to see you shine, whoever it is, there's going to be somebody or something that happens. And, they always said like thick skin and a soft belly. It's like, yeah, but how do you have that? How do you have the sense of self-worth that could make it through an industry that's changing by the minute?
So then let me ask you this as we segue, because again, to your point, we're taught more so of the artistry rather than the business. So then I would say, if not think,
Relationships.
Oh, hello, networking. Networking does not always mean climbing up. Sometimes it means planting seeds at your level. And in order to get what you want, you have to provide value and be of service. Now, that's not to say that you bend over backwards for people, because I don't believe in being that, right? But so I always say you do a job for one of 5 reasons. Either the money, and these are things that we learned later, right? Because in the beginning, we're all green. I get it. Again, when I was 10, training in LA, working in LA, that's all I was focused on. Training all day, every day, we would, from Alaska, my parents, my dad and I, we would fly down all summer, every summer, and just train, work, right? And then 15, I was working and training bi-coastally. So that's all that I was focused on. But again, so now that we're transitioning into these next steps, getting some common sense, we only do a job for one of 5 reasons. Either the money, the networking, the resume, what could, and or the passion. So let me ask you this. When we start to then get hip and wise to the game and start making intentional choices with our career, and specifically as pertains to musical theater, which is what this one's going to be for, when do you find, or what have you seen pre-Rock the Audition when you've worked with students and post-Rock the Audition? What has that transformation been like that you've witnessed when people start to make intentional choices on the resume?
I mean, that's a really good question. And I think it's bringing me to bring up the subject of the theatrical climate right now that we're in is troubled. We are a microcosm of the bigger world. Yeah. So we have a lot of the same stuff going on. And it is our job, and I love that you said the word, but our job to go, what can I contribute to this art form? Yeah. And not what can I fit in or what roles do I want to play, but literally, what can I contribute to this art form? How can I show up? When I show up to a rehearsal, am I a good company member? Yeah. You know what I mean? Am I fun to be around? Can people count on me? Not only do I know my material, but I also know theirs so that I can be there for them. What are the ways that you can go, I want to be a best self in this environment. Yeah. The shows come from that. Also, I want to speak on, the need for there to be more people of color in the front, not just, for show, fillers, but for long term, and I think that there was a crisis that went on in the community of, what about me? That's blah, 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 blah. And that's where I go, well, learn a couple of instruments. It's really, really cool. Learn some instruments, learn ASL, find other ways that you can be the kind of person where they want, well, if I'm going to have a white person in the show, it's got to be this one because she's smart, she's fun, she contributes, she's got a lot of, things to offer. She plays a lot of instruments and can hang. And it's really important, to do equity work, as a company member. These are things that is about going, hey, I don't just come as an actor, I come as a whole person. with a point of view on the world and things that I care about and things that matter to me. And I have relationships and I travel the best I can and I see things and do things. And I'm educated. I'm aware of what's going on in our cultural climate. And I come to this moment and bring great things. And that's sort of self-aware and not self-involved, but self-aware. The self-awareness of who you are in the company of other people is part of doing good business, in my opinion. And that's a good place where your personal life, who you are and who you're showing up in the industry, deserves to be hand in hand with each other. Where we need to have more rules and more understanding is there's been a lack of transparency in the industry, and the industry is still being harmful to its many inhabitants. And, I think we could stand to see more transparency.
Sure.
Good relationships from production to performers, and from the ground all the way up. Everybody should speak one language. I don't know if that answered your question, but I do feel that because the world has changed so much, we're just desperate for real, whole human beings to have a point of view on a character.
So, and I love, because again, you're so spot on. You're very forward thinking in my questions, but I don't know how you're doing it. You said point of view for being well-rounded in the character when it comes to the material that we're working. So I remember when I worked with you, and I don't know what song I was singing, but you had questioned me about great, what's the investigatory work? What's the era that we're in?
Style.
What's the time?
Yeah, I'm big on that.
Where would you be in this setting? Can you talk about especially when it comes to the material that we pick for the shows that we do? How is it that you settled on dissecting that within the work?
Ooh. You're asking really fun, cool questions. I hope I'm answering them as beautifully as you're asking them.
Yeah, because a lot of people ask me, because I try to just focus on the business aspects, like moving to market, seeking representation, and so people will sometimes ask me acting, singing, dance, which I don't have a problem answering. It's not where I want to live with this channel, but when it comes up, I'm let me bring people who can speak to that, and that's their lane.
Thank you. And what's cool is that it feels very purposeful for me. Yeah. There's the acting self, which is, I guess, the ego self, right? Yeah. And then there's this teaching, which is channeling. Yeah. So there's no ego here. So it's really fun. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you what I think is really, really wonderful that I've learned from working with so many performers and their teachers. I mentioned the word style, and that's sort of the next part of the pursuit I have with Rock the Audition, because Rock the Audition has evolved over the 21 years, not just because it's been a book and an online program and all that stuff. It's evolved in that way. But it's more so evolved in the way that I think, which is that it's what I was trying to say is that it isn't just a pop rock song. There's a bunch of different styles of pop rock music, and we all have to know the different styles. And then, it was really when I got my autism diagnosis. That's when I went, I'm going to go back to my traditional musical theater understanding and find out if that applies here. And I realized that actually it's all popular music. When we sing so much jazz, and we're calling it musical theater, but it's actually jazz, and so to me, the big move as a performer, as a teacher, as a director, as a music director, to me, the big evolution of our art form is actually asking the show, what style does the show live in? Not when it was written or when it was performed, but when does it take place? What style is it? Like we did in class. Yeah. Now, inside of the style of that show, each character has a song and a path. And so then that character also has a style.
Yeah.
And the style is not that it's not there. It's who they are. Yeah, they're a comedic sidekick, but they're singing jazz. So if they're singing jazz, how we find out about who you are is not the roles you want to play or the roles you write for. It's I want to see what jazz does to you. As the comedic sidekick, as the leading lady, what does jazz do to you when you sing it, when you listen to it, when it affects you? So the whole thing for me is the next level of studying and performing musical theater is an investment in style. The style of the show, the style of the music, the style of the songs we're singing. The dancers know this. They study all the styles. So why aren't we studying it in the same way and putting all the pieces together? So as a acting teacher, as an actor, as a pioneer who's continually going, well, what's next? Well, what hasn't gotten uncovered yet? Well, what do I have to find? Or how am I going to evolve? If I'm evolving inside, how am I evolving the industry? It's going, well, we have to get back to the source, which is that it's all popular music, and we're using popular music to tell musical theater stories. And most of that popular music is Black and Latine, and we don't listen to the music. And so we're leaving out the source. And so our acting isn't good. And so then we feel bad about ourselves and we want to know the answers, and no one has the answers because we've just been ignoring, as part of the supremacy of the system, the styles that we're supposed to be singing. So that to me is what I want everybody to understand, is that we have to study style now.
Yeah. And you said it, and it just rung out so clearly into my mind. You said, listen. Because my mom says it to me all the time. She was calling us men out. She goes, sometimes you hear me, but you ain't listening. Why is it that you think that we as actors, and I get it, there's a million and other things that we're trying to put in the scene, in the text, in the dance. Like, why don't you think that we're listening fully to the information that we're either getting in the text, in the song, or in the style of what's being, like, why don't you think that we listen more clearly?
We were told not to listen to the music as part, again, I'm going to go back to this because I'm on the spectrum and I have pattern recognition. So I just know. We were told not to listen to the music because it would look weird and to move the plot. But when we were told not to listen to the music, we were told to stop listening. So then we don't listen to what the band is doing. We don't listen to the style of the music. If I'm singing and the song is a tango, right? You know, I have to do a tango with my voice because I'm filled with passion. If I don't know that I'm singing a tango because it's called post-golden, and I have to sing a post-golden song for a post-golden audition, that's a one-sided scene. So to me, I almost want to say that, like, this business, the business of musical theater, my business as a teacher, but my actual business, my business as a human being is, if we don't study and invest in style, and style makes the show move and makes the character move and makes the story move and makes us move emotionally. If we don't study style, we're not going to get anywhere in this business. So the idea is that, what if it's not pre-golden, golden, post-golden, and contemporary musical theater, but it's jazz, blues, gospel, R&B, country, because that's what we're singing. And when we know we're singing it, then we can dip into the style that we've been ignoring.
I have one last question for you, because, we could go on forever, but I know it's late there for you.
It is, but I just appreciate the questions that you're asking, because I just, they might not be typical business questions, but
no, I still think they're relevant. I still think that they're relevant.
Yeah. Because how do we evolve? How do we evolve in this community? How do we keep evolving the art form?
Yeah. Well, you just said study, and I was interviewing
Dr. School.
I was interviewing Dr. Soler about this, and she said, in order to be a master at your craft, you have to always remain a student. And not enough of us continue to put in our 10,000 hours after we've left school. What does that mean? And she broke it down in such a way which was so enlightening. And she said, when you think of the greats, when you think of a Stevie Wonder, when you think of a Charlie Chaplin, when you think of a Julian Murphy who just retired from ABT, and in even Uta Hagen, she said this perfectly in her interview. She said, we as actors, the other disciplines understand this. A dancer spends countless hours in front of a mirror for an 8-minute performance. Yeah. A musician rehearses 6 to 4 hours out of the day for a 30-minute symphony. But why is it that we as actors think that we can rehearse one time and we'll call it good? The other disciplines understand that. So why do you think that not enough, to the degree in which you're saying, with that level of investment, that level of detail, because there's always something for you to be doing. I hate when people say, well, I'm not working. Baby, you can always be working. You might not be working in the sense that you think of like a booked and paid job, but it's what we do in the meantime to make room for that TV show, that movie, that Broadway show, that regional, that tour. It's like, where do you think we're missing the point when it comes to putting in our 10,000 hours and studying the craft?
You've asked every incredible question. You've asked every incredible question.
Thank you.
So what happens is we graduate from school and we say we're done, right? I did the studying already. Now I'm in the next phase, right? And again, this goes back to needing to be both self-reflective and then reflective of the world around you, and that you have to be curious. Yeah. Without being curious about your life, the world, you're not going to get any jobs, because the studying is studying your technique, but also studying your own instrument and being in a relationship with it. Yeah. You've got to be so tuned into your instrument that if somebody said, I need you right now, you can go, I'm ready. I mean, I'll start gentle because I'm not warm, but yeah, I'm here. Yeah. I'm available, and so you've got to be so tapped in and so tuned in that you could just literally just, announce, say, oh, the relationship's here, and you just tap in. And I think that we think that when we are done with school, we're done, but we're never done. Yeah. And like I said, I'm getting my master's right now. I'm 52 years old, and it's in dramaturgy. But don't get it twisted. I'm studying acting, dance, voice lessons, music theory. Yeah. Yeah. Because I want to be better at all of those things. I want people to call me and go, oh, Sheri can play a couple of instruments. Bring her in. Yeah. And so again, it's just this whole thing of like, aren't we're here to have one beautiful life. We mustn't stop engaging in our craft with each other, and in the evolution of who we are and the art form and how we can make it better. So all of those things, why disengage? Yeah. The coolest part is the process of discovering and playing inside your artistry. That's the cool part.
Sheri, this has been amazing. I want to say thank you so much for sharing your time so generously and taking it beyond just like a hard business conversation, but like peeling back the humanity behind it. I know that's something that you talk a lot about with what's on your page and the work that you're doing moving forward. Yeah. And if you could share like one piece of advice that you just wish for, side note. So Ray, you'll find this full interview. I'll share this on the Business Literacy YouTube, but I will also send this to Sheri so she can share with and do with whatever she wants.
Oh,
but I will share clippets. I'll post randomly through here on TikTok, so you can find it on the YouTube after all this is said and done. But last two questions. One, what is your one, if you can impart one piece of wisdom to people going forward for their humanity and their art, what would that be? That's my first question.
Oh God, I mean, I'll always go to this word because it's at the tip of my spirit. Yeah. And it's transparency. It's transparency. When it can exist in transparency, whether we're actors with each other, lovers, friends, director, choreographer, producer. There's a great thing about what you see is what you get. Yeah. And I think that there's an incredible safety in transparency. And I know that we didn't grow up in a culture that is transparent, but I do feel that coming forward and saying, "Hey, I have got nothing to hide. It's she's messy, but she's kind. Whatever it is, I've got it. It's great. I'm gonna be my whole self." And that's in your artistry, and be generous with that whole self. And then people with big money can also be transparent, and they're going to get better results out of everybody from that. So I don't know. I think more transparency will make a flower grow.
Oh, come on now. Not the flower grow. And then lastly, where can the people...
And the perfumes.
And then lastly, where can the people find you on social media, and where is a good resource and tool for them to find Rock the Audition?
Oh God, you're so wonderful. So I'm in London, governor. And so if you're on this side of the pond, just come look me up. I'm at Leeds Conservatoire. But you can find me, I'm mostly on Instagram. Okay. And so you can find me on Instagram at Sheri Sanders is here. And the other thing is I've got a digital book. My 21 years of work is a digital clickable workbook that connects you to the internet, so you can watch like real clips and real examples of everything that I talk about. But mostly just follow me on Instagram. I think you'll love a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you that are from British pop culture and British pop music. There's a lot of fun stuff here.
Oh, one last thing, because I don't want to forget this, because this is so important.
Yeah.
What is the thing that you're noticing over there with theater that's not happening over here yet?
There's a couple of things, and I want to say yet also, right? Because I think there's really cool stuff going on here that should be over there.
Yes.
Let's see. There's so many things.
If you have a couple.
That they care very much about the mental and emotional health of actors over here. Okay. I think that there's a sort of like, if you touch them, you're out. If you say something, you're out. There's something about their culture here. Mm-hmm. And they're also very, very conscious of disability. So I love all of that stuff. Stuff that they're doing over here that I want more over there. Hey, look, I mean, the government subsidizes the art here. Yeah. So nobody makes any money. I mean, I saw Benjamin Button the other day and it was incredible. It was incredible. And I paid $40 for an orchestra seat. And yeah.
Wow.
So it doesn't cost a lot to go see a show. You don't get paid a lot of money. But you make. And so that was why I came here, is because I was like, wow, I just want to keep making with other makers. Yeah. And then hopefully while I'm over here making, some of the stuff that's going on Broadway can start to shift and heal, and that we can see more, we could see Broadway flourish again.
Perfect.